How's it going, everybody? We are Cranky Films, and today we have for you Gav and Bob Part 2. You guys seem to have loved Gav and Bob 1. We absolutely did, and we also love A Vox in the Void. Thank you so much, A Vox in the Void, for providing us with Gav and Bob. Please make sure you watch the original video on his channel before you watch ours, because he is kind enough to provide this video, and we want you to show support to him, okay? Gav and Bob is a cute story. We absolutely love it and we absolutely adore it. So let's get straight into it.
Hell yeah, 36 minutes, 49 seconds. Let's see what happened to our boy Gav.
Bob died last time. My boy. Look at that boy.
Let me see
happy
if I
looks.
have this straight.
So tell us in the
The
word
commissar
position.
said, pulling his oculars off and rubbing the bridge of his nose. You want to buy an Emperor's Day present from one of the
Absolutely.
local vendors? Gav nodded enthusiastically. He liked this new commissar. This commissar was old and wise. Gav never learned his name. He couldn't remember much, and what he could remember about commissars was all about Ari.
Poor R. Oh man, he died.
Ari.
He died.
It had been 10
Yeah, he
years
did.
since Ari and
Oh,
had died.
10?
Wait, 10 whole
If Gav
years.
had been
Time
a
skip.
normal human, he would have been thrown by how quickly such a time had passed.
Yeah.
As an OGRYN, he simply accepted it with the same simple, childlike worldview with which he accepted everything.
We love that.
This wouldn't
Yeah.
be a present for that sororitas I see you hanging around with every now and again, would it, Sergeant Gav? The commissar smirked a bit, his voice barely containing the amusement he felt. Gav shuffled his big booted feet. Yes, sir. He nervously gripped the edge of the commissar's large desk, crimping the smooth metal. The commissar didn't yell at him. He was a nice commissar. Not
That's
Ari,
good.
but nice.
That's good. That's good.
Nobody can be
The
Ari.
commissar
I know.
sighed
Could be
and
Ari.
leaned forward. You know, I could have you punished for asking something like this. I could construe it as insubordination. I could be angry, Gav.
Okay.
The commissar
Gav
always
can
had to
rip
make
your head
things
off.
simple for Gav.
Like,
Ari never had to do that. He had always talked simple. The commissar hadn't been angry, and had even decided to accompany Gav on his trip to the town. It was a great day, and Gav was happy.
That's good.
That's good.
The planet they were on was near a lot of other planets taken by the Chaos Men. Gav was happy to have another chance to hurt the Chaos Men. They were the men who killed Bob.
I'd be pissed
He
too.
killed that blue and gold godling, but he knew that there were more.
Oh,
Thanks to the metal parts in his head, he knew what that meant now.
oh,
The planet was a great place. It was a place people went to have a good time. The town was all lit up for Emperor's Day, and the lights made Gav happy.
The Emperor's Day sounds like a
He
fun
and the
time.
commissar walked along the
Yeah.
main
for real,
street,
bro.
weapons held at ease before them. The commissar had told Gav that there might be Chaos Men on this planet, so they had to be prepared.
Oh, yeah.
Gav didn't
Man's
mind.
ready.
He liked his big gun. Having it around reminded him of the big guns Bob used to use. And besides, if there were Chaos Men around, Gav wanted to hurt them good before they could hurt him.
Exactly. Beat them before they could beat you.
Filthy thing out of my shop! He's frightening away all the business and breaking everything!
Oh.
The shop owner was mean. Gav didn't want to break things, but the shop was just so tiny.
Yeah.
No,
Every time
Gav's
he
a
moved,
behemoth.
his elbow or the tip of his gun would touch something and send it
They
clattering
have to
the
accommodate for
ground.
OGRYNs, man.
oh,
The shop was full of statues. Little ones, big ones, some even bigger than Gav.
Oh,
Statues
wow.
of the Emperor, of the Emperor's godlings, of his fellow guardsmen. There were
Let's
even
buy
a few
one.
statues of OGRYN.
Oh,
Oh,
Gav
cool.
turned when he heard the shop owner begin to yell again. The commissar was standing by the shop owner's counter, leaning against it. He smiled and nodded as the man continued to berate his big friend, before reaching down and unholstering his las pistol. He set the gun on the counter with a small clatter, never saying a word, Gav was glad the shop owner stopped talking.
That's good.
He was mean.
Yeah.
Man threatening him.
Yeah, he was.
It took Gav only a few
Jesus.
minutes to find the right one. The simple-minded abhuman didn't know why. But the small statuette seemed much more beautiful than the
Simple-minded.
rest. How much for this one? He gingerly picked up the tiny statue, turning and knocking over 3 more on his
Oh
way
my
to the
god,
counter.
Gav.
Oh, okay, bro.
The shop owner harumphed and looked down at the little
Harumphed.
statue. 20 thrones. You'll take 5. The commissar set the large, gleaming gold coins on the counter and picked up his las pistol.
That's crazy.
Come now, Sergeant Gav. We have to wrap that thing before you give it to her.
Ah,
Now see here, you... The shop owner began, blanching when he found himself staring down the barrel of that standard issue Cadian pattern las pistol.
Oh, Jesus.
My friend Gav is very set on giving this to a special someone.
Let's go.
Think of this as an Emperor's Day sale. The commissar smiled and holstered his
Dude, the
pistol.
commissar is cool. Okay.
Gav liked the commissar.
I guess they just stole.
He was a nice man.
Jesus
Not
Christ.
like Ari, but nice.
definitely not like
Yeah.
Gary, but nice. He's cool.
He's cool in his own way.
Yeah.
And he's the homie too.
They were barely out of the shop when the explosion started.
Oh.
Gav
no.
turned his large, bold head towards the center of town, his one fleshy eye going wide. A large corona was spreading up and up into the sky, turning the post-dusk sky into early dawn. He winced and held up a large, meaty hand as the flash became blinding, sending everything into stark relief. The commissar was yelling into nothing, a hand on his ear. Gav looked down at the little statue, before opening one of the pouches on his belt and slipping it inside. He patted the leather pouch before readying his gun.
Yeah, I got you.
Follow me, Gav! We'll meet up with your fellow tribesmen, 2 kilometers to the east. Gav nodded, acting as if he understood what the commissar was saying, before taking off after the man, big booted feet stomping on the rockcrete below him. The lights of the city flickered and then went dark, making what was once a joyous city dark and scary to Gav.
Oh man.
But he was
Oh,
with the
dude.
commissar, so that was
Dude,
all
this
right.
commissar better not die.
The commissar
It
would
was
know
alright.
what to do.
I know.
Gav was panting by the time they ran up to the frantic guard column heading into the center of the city. Groups of PDF, hastily drawn conscripts and grizzled veterans ran about the towering OGRYN in a frenzy. Orders were barked, weapons were ready, and oaths were reaffirmed. Somewhere, in the distance, another explosion ripped through the town.
What's going on?
Gav found his tribesmen milling about near the
One of
entrance
those
to the
bad guys.
Chimera. Kelt, a small man even by human standards, stood at the top of the mud-caked ramp with a bucket full of potatoes, calling to
Kelt.
the shuffling OGRYN. Come on! We got a ton more in here! Get in! Gav came up behind his 3, 4, 5 tribesmates and prodded one in the back.
You heard, Celt. Get in!
Oh,
Chaos men to smash!
yes,
First
go.
one to
Alright, we
smash a
do.
Chaos man gets a lot of potatoes!
His tribesmen
The
grinned,
potatoes.
Dude, that's a
whooped
deal.
and hollered, clambering
I'm trying to
up
get
on
those
ramp
potatoes.
and unknowingly dragging a rather unwilling Celt into the Chimera with them. Gav didn't fear the dark,
Unwilling.
enclosed space
Kelt
like
doesn't
he
belong
used to.
there.
Yeah, not anymore.
Maybe
Gav,
it was
Gav,
the metal bits
Gav
in his
evolved.
head. Gav thought it might be because he knew he was going to be killing Chaos Men today.
Yeah.
His anger was bigger than his fear today.
Gav's a
noise outside
machine
was
now,
getting
dude.
louder.
The hero,
Yeah.
Gav could make out men yelling, las guns firing, and some sort of singing. Well, it didn't really sound like singing, but it was the only word the hulking OGRYN could give to the strange trilling sound that grew inside the cab. Suddenly, the Chimera lurched around, pulling a quick 180-degree turn. It kicked up a billowing cloud of dust and debris as its tracks worked to keep the squat metal box turning. The lights began to flash as his squad readied their guns.
For the Emperor! Charge!
Or the
Smash
Emperor.
the little ones!
Yeah. Just get him.
Booted feet stomped down the hatch, followed
Smash
swiftly
them.
by the more light tone of Celt's boots.
Kill.
Gav swiftly assessed the situation. The Chaos Men were over there, right in front of him. He pointed at them and yelled,
There they are! Smash them!
Yeah.
Smash them for
Yeah.
Bob!
None of his
For
tribesmen
Bob.
now remembered Bob.
Oh.
They were all
Bro, who is
replacements for
Bob?
other losses they'd had in the 10 years since Bob's death.
He's the only
Gav still
original
used
member.
that line every time they
Bro,
charged.
he killed an OGRYN
It felt
easily.
right. The Chaos Men were hiding behind broken cars
For
and
Bob,
overturned
who?
boxes. They dressed funny, in a bunch of flashy colors and dresses. As he came closer to the line of Chaos Men, he realized that the singing was coming from them. They were laughing and giggling even as they were shot down, writhing in their own pools of blood as if they were having fun.
Oh dang.
Oh my
Jesus.
gosh.
Gav hit
That's
the
a
line of
bit
Chaos Men
much.
like an oncoming train, barreling through them and sending the bad men flying.
That's a truck, dude.
He'd forgotten to even fire his gun.
Oh man.
He realized that he splattered a
He
woman's
didn't
head
use
with the
his
butt
gun.
of that gigantic weapon. Oh well.
Oh,
Maybe
well.
he'd get to fire it next time.
Jesus
The
Christ.
melee continued unabated.
Maybe.
The bad Chaos Men rushing at Gav and his tribesmen, eager to get blown to bits by close-quarter blasts, or smashed apart
Jeez.
by the slab-like muscles of the OGRYN.
The ogres are
Gav was
behemoths
slick
though.
with
Yeah,
blood
they are.
and other
Right?
bodily fluids. His gun empty from how many of the bad men he'd shot. He killed with enjoyment, knowing that he was doing the work of the Emperor.
Yeah.
He clubbed a young boy to death.
Oh!
Or was it a girl? It was
Jesus!
hard to tell with normal humans, much less these Chaos Men.
Yeah.
Gav grunted as he
They're
felt
bad.
bullets
Oh my
up into his back
God.
muscle, digging in slightly before that tightly corded musculature and hard bone stopped it from hitting anything vital.
God, I can feel
He
that.
turned.
Yeah.
He found himself staring down a great hulking Chaos Man wielding a heavy stubber. The man was almost completely naked. And Gav
Oh.
found himself laughing as he saw the man had a great big breast on the right side of his chest.
What?
Experience the kiss of death, blunted thing. The bad Chaos Man spat, pulling down on the trigger. He fired 3 shots. 2 missed, and 1
I don't
ricocheted off Gav's
understand.
thick forehead.
Oh my
before he
God.
screamed out in surprised ecstasy.
He ricocheted.
Oh,
Shoulder
God.
to hip bone. A great
Ricochet.
chainsword cut through the Chaos Man, sending
Oh.
a great spray of arterial blood in almost every direction.
Jesus.
The 2 halves separated and flopped to the ground, leaving Gav smiling as he straightened up.
My man
Standing
Gav.
there, heaving her monstrous chainsword onto her shoulder, was Tala, her blood-stained
Oh.
parchment clothing wafting in the breeze.
Okay.
Hello, Gav.
Oh.
Doing the Emperor proud, I see.
Oh, is this
Yeah.
the girl he likes?
She smiled. Gav
Oh.
smiled too. It was
Oh
going to be a
my.
good day.
Yeah.
All right, it
Fighting
is.
alongside Tala was a lesson in humility for Gav.
Okay.
She almost scared him.
Oh.
In the name of the Holy Father, she'd yell as she and her squad of similarly clothed sisters charged through
Are
torrents
they
of
the
lasfire.
church
Gav
people?
and his tribesmen following in their wake,
I forgot what they're called.
watching her sisters torn apart by
They have
heavy
ponytails, no?
bolter fire,
Or am I
or
thinking of someone else?
instantly incinerated by las cannons
think
didn't
somebody
seem to
else.
matter to Tala. If anything, she just ran harder, holding that large chainsword over her head and whooping like she was a
Well, it
demon
could be Sisters of
herself.
Frida's. We have a video on them.
Could-
Like Chainsaw
The Chaos
Okay.
Men were fighting to protect
Yeah,
some
it
sort
has
of
to be
ritual
them.
in the center of town. Gav had heard some of the men yelling about it as they continued their
Garf.
frantic race towards the center of the city. Gav knew that whatever they were planning, it was definitely nothing good.
Mm.
2 of his tribesmen had
Subtitles,
died.
man.
I know,
One
right?
with a hole
The
punched through
auto-gen.
him by a las cannon, the other
Oh.
swallowed up by scores of gibbering, giggling chaos men.
Jesus.
These guys are
Tala's squad was
awful.
doing even
They really
worse.
are.
Half
I
of the
cannot
laughing.
imagine.
members cut down
That's
before they'd reached the edge
crazy.
of ground zero.
Original
Gav
20 were
had never
cut
seen
down.
such
Yeah.
destruction before. It seemed as if everything in the center of town had simply ceased to be, replaced with
No.
scorched and blackened earth. The Chaos Men formed a tight ring around the center, fighting like the madmen they were to keep the guard from derailing their plans. The fighting began to bog down when the guardsmen smashed against the ring of those Chaos Men. Gav could see men and women in the uniform of the local police among the Chaos Men, as well as the PDF,
Oh,
Gav
they
didn't
defect.
really know what that meant.
Mm.
He didn't think the commissar would tell him even if he'd asked. A Lehman Russ tank barked its commanding voice not feet from Gav, deafening him momentarily as it spat death towards the men who'd stopped loving the Emperor. Gav raised his empty gun and yelled out as he saw a score of Chaos men shredded by the gigantic impact, only to grimace as the gap was quickly plugged.
Then there's
Gav!
that much.
He turned his head towards that feminine voice, seeing Tala standing atop the ruined,
Tala.
smouldering chassis of a chimera. He waved.
Hi.
I see more of your tribesmen to the west. Let's join them for a final charge. By the Emperor. It
By
is
the
a
Emperor.
good day to die. She
Perfect day
raised her
today.
chainsword and ululated
Oh, I
at
hope
the
she
Chaos
doesn't die.
men
She better
before
not
hopping
die,
off the
man.
chassis and disappearing
Yeah,
into
this
the
is gonna-
smoke-choked night.
Today's not a good day to
Gal's
die.
gonna
by
become a
far.
cold, hard killer.
Wondering what she was so happy about.
She's a
Tala
traitor.
hadn't been joking when she said that she'd seen more of his tribesmen. If Gav could count that high, he'd have been able to count himself among 30 of his own tribe,
Oh, dang.
Oh.
as well as 10 Sisters Repentia and
Yeah,
20
Sisters
sororities.
Repentia.
This is where we shall make the breach. A tall, scar-ridden woman in a suit of golden armor yelled at the gathered flock, raising her crackling power sword high. Repentia! OGRYN! Lead the charge and force a gap! We shall follow you into the breach!
A big
The
group
Gav
of
was one of
OGRYN.
only
He
two
grabs
boners
the
left
F as
among
leader,
the
dude.
OGRYN Auxilia.
Dang.
So he and his counterpart, a happy-go-lucky sod named Jim, split the rest of his
Yo,
tribesmen into what
Jim!
amounted to 2 equal squads, give or take a couple confused in-betweeners. Tala and her fellow Repentia sent up a great cry. Gav and his fellow OGRYN raised their guns into the air and fired.
That'd be
Well,
crazy to
except
see.
Gav, though he yelled really loud, stomping towards the tightly packed lines
Yes.
with Tala's
He had
screaming,
no
whooping
more
sisters
ammo.
in tow. The armored sisters hung back, moving forward slowly, a few shooting grenades over the gaggle of
That's just
berserkers
yelled
and
really
into the
loud.
line of chaos men.
That'd be terrifying to see a line of
Gav and
OGRYN.
Tala ran
Oh,
side
yeah.
by side, the OGRYN's loping, flat-footed gait matching Tala's swift, agile grace. She revved her chainsword and whooped, grinning ferally,
She
her
whooped.
aquamarine eyes burning with purpose.
Oh.
The charge was only halfway through, when a great boom sounded throughout the battlefield.
Oh, dang, another bomb.
Another explosion
Jeez.
sounded from the center of town, though there was no bright flash accompanying. Then the entire Chaos line fell down dead.
Oh.
Grins of insane
man.
ecstasy locked on their rictus frozen faces.
Jesus.
The
That's
stink of burning flesh
kinda
made Gav
freaky.
cough, slapping a paw-like hand over his nose. The sisters had taken immediate action, burning the bodies of the fallen Chaos men in the tense silence following their sudden deaths.
Oh.
Nobody ventured past
Maybe he got
the
hit by
circle
a,
of
like a
dead
psycho
heretics.
attack?
Guards and sororitas alike frozen in
I don't
confusion.
know.
Only the
The
woman
fact
in the
they
golden
died with their
armor seemed
smiles
to know
is
what was
freaky.
going on, barking at the general and his friends to make ready a defense and secure the perimeter.
Oh, maybe they sacrificed
What
themselves
that
to
meant to
lure
Gav
more in.
was walking back
Maybe.
away from what had looked like a fun scrap. That gun held over his shoulder and a look of confusion and mild fear crossing his face. Take heart, Gav! The OGRYN turned
heart.
and smiled as Tala appeared beside him,
Tyler.
chainsword held over her shoulder in a similar fashion. The fight is
Hi,
not
I'm
yet
Tyler.
done. The enemy is up to something behind those flames. I can feel it. She still had that scary smile upon her face, despite bleeding from several
Jeez.
places across her scarred form.
Oh.
So it has a purpose and a duty.
You all right, sister?
Gav spoke, leaning against the same chimera chassis she'd launched from minutes before. He pulled his water canteen from his belt and popped the top,
Yeah. Get
swigging the
hydrated.
warm liquid with great wet
Right.
gulps before wiping his mouth with his arm. Pain is
Oh,
sweetness
wow.
being
Detail.
purged from the body. She spoke, before her features softened somewhat. I'm fine, Gav. She
Okay.
smiled, and took the water bottle when he offered it, finding the liquid remarkably refreshing. She'd hardly known she'd been thirsty until the water had hit her lips. and now she
Right.
almost drained the large canteen.
Hey.
Licking her lips, she handed
That
it
hit,
back.
bro.
A moment of silence passed between them. Abhuman and fallen battle sister standing across from each other. Tala's mind was reeling, thinking of the possibilities of what was going on behind that curtain of fire. Gav was trying to remember something. He had something to tell Tala.
No.
Oh, no, the gift.
yeah,
The gift.
Something to give her.
Yeah.
What was it?
The pouch. The pouch.
This is one fine Emperor's day, Tala commented, staring off into the roiling smoke rising from the burning cadavers.
No, it's not.
Gav responded, sarcasm failing to translate for him.
Ha.
We got attacked, and
His fleshy eye widened for the second time that day, as he clumsily reached for that pouch.
I got you something for Emperor's Day, sis.
Ooh.
Gav had to clamp his hands over his ears, bending over double. A shrill call struck across the battlefield, wavering
on.
and ululating in ways
Oh,
that made men
no.
Oh,
soil their
here comes the other
undershorts
attacks.
accidentally.
Yeah, he can't give it to her.
Gav stumbled and almost knocked Tala down, the Repentia also covering her ears and hissing as blood seeped from her nose.
No.
They come!
A psychic attack?
Contact! All over us!
Yeah.
Emperor, help us! Gav looked up to see figures leaping over the bodies of the dead Chaos Men. Skinny demons. Hundreds of
Oh
them.
no.
Thousands of them.
Thousands.
They danced and hopped towards the panicking guardsman line.
Dancing and
Some rode two-legged things.
Isn't that the same
with long
thing that
noses
killed
and even longer
Bob?
tongues. Others rode chariots or even flew with wings of their own. Gav furrowed his brow and hefted his gun, suddenly remembering that he had an extra clip of ammo clamped around his arse. Grabbing it, slammed it into place. He turned to Tala.
It's a good day to die, right?
He fired off a round towards one of those skinny demons. The spreading cone
Wow,
of shrapnel
she has
shredding
to
the
live.
leering, lecherous thing.
I want
It
At least-
vaporized, as if it had never existed. A
Oh.
whispered sigh following in its wake. In the name of the Father, die! Die! Die!
Yeah.
Tala swung her chainsword at one of the skinny demons who just twirled out of range, giggling and smiling.
No,
The
no,
The
They're
demon
crazy.
clicked its massive claws and danced forward, meaning to take Tala's head off.
Oh no.
The Repentia was fast, raising the whirring teeth of her weapon to take off the hissing creature's claw with one deft stroke. Gav held one of the creatures by its neck,
Crushed it.
grinning as it clawed fruitlessly at his slab muscled arm. Raising his arm up, he slammed the thin, delicate thing against the ground again and again
Yep.
until slick, blue-black ichor covered the front of his uniform,
Good.
hissing and steaming the cool of the night
That thing
air.
almost killed Tala.
It's a good day.
He mused
Yep.
as he backhanded a mounted trilling demon, sending the silly thing flying
Good
over
day
the
to take out
bird-type
some
chimera
chaos.
chassis. He didn't notice the several cuts across his body that the skinny demons had been making. He did start
Oh.
to feel a mite dizzy.
Oh,
Though it
bleeding out.
certainly wasn't from blood loss.
Oh, okay.
His skin felt a bit too hot. And for some reason, the colours in the world seemed
poisoned?
too
Yeah, probably poison.
hot. He winced as he felt a claw dig deep into his back, turning round to get at the demon but grabbing onto thin air as it danced away, giggling at him. He hated that laughter. It reminded him of...
Smash 'em!
He reached down and grabbed a big chunk of rockcrete that had once been part of a building. Hefting it above his head, he hurled it into a mob of the demons, crushing a good 5 or 6 of the tittering
Ooh,
hateful
perfect.
things.
Yeah.
For Bob!
He added, as
For
he picked up
Bob.
another slab and hurled it, getting only one as the dexterous mob flitted away.
Settle down, blunted one.
Gav reeled.
Oh.
They're trying to talk to him
stumbling
again.
back to see something taller than him moving out from the smoke. It was thin and lithe, taller than the two-legged machine some of his guardsman friends drove. 2 pairs of thin arms moved with unnatural grace around a chest festooned with swollen, pierced udders. Its androgynous, horned face grinned down at the two beings,
Was it a demon?
long tongue sliding out to
Yeah.
taste the air.
Step back, hand
Oh my
maidens.
gosh.
The tall thing lifted a finely crafted broadsword as big as Gav,
Oh my-
twirling it around with practiced ease as the
Jesus.
smaller
That's
demons
massive.
flitted
That's so
away to
big.
seek new victims.
I wish to see how hard this thing will fight in the name of Bob.
My
Oh,
man can
hell
vote for Bob.
no.
It's
dog.
mocking him. Oh,
Tala
God.
fell
Man
in
will
beside
fight
Gav,
for Bob, bro.
revving her gigantic chainsword.
You don't
She was
talk about
bleeding
that.
even worse than before, her parchment sprinkling
no.
little droplets of her precious life fluid across the blasted hellscape with every lazy wave in the soft breeze.
oh God.
The laughter of the Keeper of Secrets made Gav wince and Tala growl.
Dude, Gav's about to go 8. Oh my.
Oh, he's about to go crazy.
Gav was amazed at how fast such a big thing could be. He'd seen the Emperor's godlings move fast, and had thought he'd seen the fastest things in them. But this gigantic creature put them all to shame. Claws and sword came down towards Gav and Tala. Had it been a one-on-one fight, Gav would have been shredded within seconds. But having to split its attentions between two foes meant that Gav only had to block half a flurry of strikes,
That's good.
most of which glanced off his strong skeleton when they pierced his flesh. He began to grow confident,
Ogres are just built
raising up his
different.
gun to
They
blast
really are.
away
Yeah.
at the tall, spiteful creature, whooping and hollering as he went. He wouldn't have noticed his arm missing had it not been for his gun.
Oh, is-
It had stopped firing, so he looked down to find that the entirety of his arm from below the shoulder had
No.
been ripped off,
oh my god.
as if it had been sheared off with a cutting laser.
Jeez.
Gav
was
fell
just-
onto his arse and looked down at his
No.
bleeding stump of an arm. As an OGRYN, his physiology was markedly different from humans.
It's gonna grow back.
Harsher gravity on his homeworld meant that his veins were more contracted than normal, meaning he could suffer loss of a limb without the immediate threat of bleeding out.
Oh, crazy.
Wow.
Oh,
Shock, however, was
Without
still
the
a threat.
immediate threat of bleeding.
In
Yeah.
that state, Gav forgot the melee and began to search for his missing arm.
Oh my god.
Enough.
Oh my gosh.
The Keeper of Secrets threw aside the Repentier's feeble efforts, the blood loss finally slowing Tala's reflexes.
Oh, don't tell her
With
no.
one great cry, she threw herself at that thing which had dared to hurt Gav, tears rolling down her face.
Oh.
Gav, who had been nothing but kind to her. The cursed thing's tail whipped about, disarming Tala before impaling the Repentier upon its barbed tip with ease.
Oh my.
The Keeper's
Oh,
grin
no.
growing all the wider. It could taste the woman's despair as she realized her death was
No.
imminent, tossing her aside to turn on the OGRYN.
Your
he gonna
little
evolve?
friend is dead,
Bob's
blunted
gonna.
one.
Oh,
do
no,
not-
stop.
do not-
Well, close enough.
Not top Gav.
It went to one knee, leaning down to put its face level with the OGRYN's.
I'd be hot, bro. I'd be
Ugly,
hot. Don't look at
Vile thing. Killing it would be a kindness.
Yeah.
I'll take my time with you.
F
You
you,
deserve
bro.
a modicum of experience.
Oh my.
Such a blunted thing is bound to have had so little.
That jaw hung open in
Oh
a feral
my
grin,
God.
tongue sliding out.
Dude, F this dude.
OGRYNs rarely move quickly or have good ideas.
That's
If they
a
have
perfect
one,
anime villain, though.
they usually don't have it while having another. Sometimes, though, in the great galaxy, an OGRYN might have a moment of clarity.
Oh, really?
Right?
Grabbing one of his grenades from his belt, he popped the simple trigger mechanism off and shoved the weapon into the gloating thing's hateful, toothy mouth.
Yes. Blow it
Darn right.
up.
The
Blow it
Keeper
up.
of Secrets, Akfathlasta, had only seconds left in the Empyrean to realize its error in judgment before its head exploded in a shower of gore.
Yep. Yep.
Jeez.
That's how it goes.
Oh, hey,
That's how it
Gav's
goes.
smarter than you think.
Exactly.
Boy.
F that dude. But now our girl
Now
almost
it's-
dying.
No. No.
Where was that voice coming from?
No.
Gav stood above the broken and twitching body of the Keeper of Secrets, his arm momentarily forgotten as he heard the feeble voice calling to him. Tala! He remembered.
Come on.
A vague image of that horrible thing impaling the Repentier on its tail flashed through the OGRYN's head. He looked down at the hissing, dissembling corpse, fighting back the urge to punch it.
Do it, Doug.
Gav! Gav's booted feet grew louder in Tala's hearing. Her sight was all but gone, the blood loss and trauma rendering her blind.
Give her before she
She
goes.
felt big,
Come on.
sweaty hands taking hold of her body, lifting her into a sitting position and almost crushing her into a sweating, stinking chest.
Oh,
She closed her eyes and lay her head on that chest.
Tala! Tala! Don't go to sleep.
Yeah, stay up.
Don't sleep,
come
Tala.
on.
He shook her until her eyes popped open again, tears rolling freely down his cheeks. It's over, Gav. I gave my life for the father. Now I can die in peace. Tala smiled and reached up, finding Gav's bumpy, stubble-covered face and caressing gently.
No!
Yeah.
He shook his head.
Oh,
Not now! I haven't even given you your present yet!
He reached down into that pouch and pulled that statuette out, taking one of her hands and slipping the angelic figurine into it. Tala grinned.
Fine.
Gav, it's beautiful.
oh.
She wouldn't tell the OGRYN she couldn't see it. It would be too cruel.
Yeah, it would be.
Thank you, sister.
Gav's voice had taken on a grave tone. Tala noticed it, and her face became set. She could hear them encircling the two, giggling, trilling.
Oh no.
Gav was staring down a slowly
Gav's
tightening
probably
circle of
Go
demonettes.
crazy right
They
now.
watched and waited, drinking in the last dying feelings of the sister Repentia.
These things are creepy,
Despair
man.
was a
just
foreign
watching.
feeling to an OGRYN.
Oh my
They
god.
usually died too quick to feel anything except quiet disappointment that they could no longer serve the Emperor. As the circle began to close, Gav began to feel the tendrils of despair choking his heart. Everyone he loved died. Ari first, then Bob,
Oh, definitely.
and now Tala.
Mm.
One of the few humans who'd ever treated him really good. Not just decent, but really good. With nothing left to do, the OGRYN bowed his head in prayer.
Emperor, if you can hear me, I
Come on,
don't care
Emperor.
if I live. I done good. But Tala, forgive her for whatever she done.
The words came slow, blood loss and his own ignorance fighting against the feelings that wanted to be voiced.
Save her. In the Emperor's name.
The demonette cackled and moved in closer.
Oh my god.
Gav curled himself around
Oh,
Tala's motionless corpse, unwilling
Oh.
to stop protecting her, even in the face of death. A bright, white beam of light pierced the space between Gav and Tala. The demonettes hissed and hopped back, their flesh burning and popping and peeling. Gav was launched back by a shockwave that was heard across the battlefield, banging against that burnt-out Chimera chassis and sliding down onto his arse. Follow me, my sisters!
Oh, okay,
The
back up.
grenade has disorientated them!
Okay, good.
Bolts ripped through the bodies of the shrieking demonettes, the
Awesome.
buzzing of eviscerators cutting through the horrible creatures. Sororitas marched in calm lines, bolters held at their chests, firing on full auto into the screaming melee.
Yeah.
Repentia and Demonette were taken down with impunity, the area scoured of demonic taint within short order. Gav saw none of this, of course. The blast from the blessed grenade had knocked him against the burnt-out Chimera chassis, the blunt trauma, combined with blood loss, finally knocking him unconscious.
He's been
Tala
through
had
it.
received minimal
You've been through
damage
so
from the
much,
grenade,
man.
thanks in part to Gav's protective nature. His body had shielded her from the worst of the holy blast, though what little
His
she did
arm.
receive only exacerbated her condition. Gav awoke in a Medicaid facility days later. He would need extensive grafts, a bionic arm, and perhaps even debriefing by the Inquisition about what he had been witness to. Gav didn't care about any of that. His first question, when he could croak it out, was,
Is Tala okay?
Oh, boy.
It was the
Yeah,
only
come on,
way to be
please.
sure, Gav. She'd already been tainted once. Prolonged exposure to the Slaneshi demons might have.
The sororitas didn't get the rest of it out. A bedpan flew at her, crumpling into the wall right where her head had been. Despair had once again taken hold of Gav's heart. They said it was standard procedure for one twice cursed as Tala. She would have turned back eventually. At least this way she would be useful, they said. Gav's anger was tempered only by his inability to move. They doped him up something fierce, a compromise between the general and the canoness. The canoness would rather not told the abhuman, simply let him assume that Tala died.
Yeah.
The general said that the least Gav deserved was the truth, so they doped him so he wouldn't be able to hurt anyone.
I'd be heated.
They hoped. Gav was crying again, his one arm flailing as the emotions fought to come forth. He'd hardly understood a thing the sororitas had said, but the gist of it was clear. Tala was alive, but... He felt a gentle hand press against his shoulder. He calmed down almost immediately, looking up into the one aquamarine eye Tala had left. She'd been mind-scrubbed and turned into a servitor. It was said that small parts of her still remained in her living brain. But to Gav, this was somehow worse than just letting her die.
They just like let her die.
Yeah.
The entire left half of her face had been replaced with metal bits, a mesh grill in place of where her mouth had been. That one aquamarine eye stared down at him in bovine complacency. That single good, human, fleshy hand gently stroking at Gav's shoulder.
Oh my goodness.
The rest of her body had been left to rot, replaced with a humanoid chassis built to be the greeter of some hospice somewhere, eternally signing people in and making recorded, polite conversation.
Oh, that's so... Oh.
Gav let that one human hand continue to stroke his shoulder. Maybe it was just the metal brain working, trying to calm him down. Gav liked to think some part of Tala was still in there.
I
Tala
do too.
had been a great friend, just like Bob.
Man. Oh, that's so fucking sad, bro, dude.
What is, man?
Gav
That hit hard.
went through so much stuff.
Yeah, he has.
Now he has a whole metal arm. Now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks, man. Honestly, Gav was right. Like that fate of being turned into like is this a servant
yeah.
is worse than death, to be honest.
I'd agree.
I mean,
yeah.
she practically died. She's no longer has a conscience.
She did her job.
Yeah.
Dude.
She did.
She
do her
served
job.
the emperor.
She did.
Like, you just let her. Should have just
Let her
let her
go.
die for him.
Then the worst part is too. They drugged him up so he couldn't like rage.
That's so cold, bro.
Yeah.
That's so
He was
cold,
still
dude.
flaying though.
Yeah. His one arm.
He's gonna. Hey, I don't even know, dude. I don't know how you can make it better. I mean, at least he's getting another like a robotic arm eventually.
Yeah.
Like
Or a
I mean,
metal arm.
he already has one. It's installed already.
I guess you can say the Emperor made his wish come true, his prayer.
But the
To live so
To
that Tala
help Tala.
did it though.
I guess.
I mean,
Like
I guess yes. Theoretically,
she's
technically,
still
yeah,
there.
she's there.
But
Dude, my man Gav. I mean, dude, come on, give him a break. There's 2 more parts.
yeah. Like what's
The next part is it's gonna be just as bad.
it really
Oh
is
my
like
God.
every like we go in here. It was like I said, first half of the first part was like happy, wholesome
Yeah.
potatoes and everything, right?
Potato.
But then
Yeah.
second half is like, man,
And
I'm
it just goes
sad.
straight to-
No,
Yep.
this part, same thing. Oh, Gab, 10 years later, he's over Bob. Well, not still over Bob, but you know, he's
I mean-
he's could live life, right, doing his thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
For
he's
Bob.
lived life. He met a human
Yeah.
who is nicer to him than any human has ever been.
Yeah.
I mean, she like single-handedly is like changing that race, like his impression of that race, the human race, and then just he cares so much about her and such a good friend.
Yeah. And the fact that she was crying when Gav got hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's so sweet too, like
Yeah.
telling him like it's beautiful, like
Even though she
the
couldn't
statue,
see, yeah.
she couldn't see it.
She couldn't
That's
tell
just-
him.
Man.
I mean,
She couldn't tell him she couldn't see.
Honestly,
know.
I thought in that part when he's the sisters threw the holy grenade, I thought for some reason the emperor was like gave him some like psychic energy real quick. He's probably
I thought
she's
so
probably
too.
going
I was
in,
like, what?
you know,
Really?
like he heard his prayer.
I did it.
You know,
That'd been something.
That would have been very cool.
that would be
Dude,
cool, but not.
I've been super hard on Gav, being so simple-minded.
Yeah.
And then this happens. I mean, to anybody, like a friend dying is awful.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
to anybody,
Yeah.
a best friend dies is the worst thing. But to somebody who's like so like simple-minded, and some things they just don't. They're not smart. They can't grasp a lot of the situation. They don't understand as to why this had happened.
Yeah.
It's probably like the end of the world for him every time somebody, such a good friend, has died. Like
Yeah.
it's probably
Yeah.
one of the
Especially in like
hardest things.
especially in like a really confusing way, like how Tala did die.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
because he was like he can't comprehend a lot of stuff like you're saying, and
Yeah.
the way she was going out was so confusing because they're using
Yeah.
all these different terminologies and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
All he knew is that death would have been better, in his opinion.
Yeah.
Because now
Yes.
it's just like he doesn't really truly understand it, but it sucks just to be turned into a puppet, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What's also interesting is if there is some part of her there, is it sort of like a dream? Like you can't, like something's there but you can't fully remember it?
Surely, yeah. She can't fully get it.
Yeah, I mean she'd been mind wiped, right?
Mind wiped. Yeah.
So like Gab will love to believe that there's still traces of her still in there, but other than that, she is still a puppet
Oh.
and is unable to act on those most likely.
You know, it'll be so like it'll hit you hard in the heart if in her quarters she still has the statue.
Right.
The-
If she remembers the statue somehow.
Yeah, like unless it's like a
Yeah.
very significant like thing, like core memory, like core super ingrained memory, maybe. But
Mhm.
I don't think
That'd be awesome.
I don't think we'll ever see her again though. It sucks.
Oh my god. I really hope she makes a comeback and somehow she ends up getting her full memory.
Right.
Oh, that'd be wild. But then she would
That'd
probably
be awesome.
But then she would probably be like killed though, you know, because they were saying if a sister is tainted twice, they have to mind wipe or something like they could be tainted
But
even
what do
further.
What
Yeah.
do they mean by that? Like,
They probably like like fell in battle and got some of the like Sonesh stuff infected her. Maybe I'm not too sure to be honest.
Yeah.
Let-
that needs.
let us
that
know in
has
the
to be
comments.
something. Yeah.
Oh,
Let us know.
please do.
We need to make it make sense.
Yeah. Oh man, but dude, can we talk about how crazy OGRYNs are?
Oh my
Yes,
gosh,
they-
dude.
The
They're
fact
so
that they
crazy.
could cut off a limb and they don't bleed out.
Yeah, like he was so invested in the battle what's happening. He didn't notice it. He only noticed it when he did not feel his gun there.
Yeah, I didn't feel his gun shooting.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
That's insane.
Like not
And to
like not to mention like remember earlier like he got shot in the head but it ricocheted off his thick skin.
Oh yeah.
Like
Bruh.
what, bro?
Ogres are crazy.
And they describe so much about the OGRYN's like physiology in here. Like if it
Yeah.
went through his thick like super muscle thick skin and muscle, it bounced off of his super bone. The
Yeah.
sword. I'm like,
Yeah.
huh? Like these guys are correct. Put it like
They are.
why don't you put them in some Space Marine armor to
Yeah,
have
I'm
them like
telling you,
super
man.
tanks?
Dude, I haven't
Right?
played tabletop. I'm gonna need a couple of these.
Oh,
boys.
100 get some OGRYNs.
Oh
Dude,
yeah.
Get an OGRYN
These
frontline
things are
going
so
on.
crazy.
You know?
For sure.
They're also just so sweet as well.
They really are.
That's like one of the best parts about it.
Like they're there
Yeah.
for the Emperor and potatoes.
Dude, the way
potatoes.
my man was describing how happy he was, bro, just slaughtering them.
Oh yeah.
He
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, yeah, no, I don't. Wait, was it a little boy? That could have been. A
I was
little
like,
boy.
Yeah,
what?
Killed her. It's just like.
I was like,
no!
Jesus
Squash.
Christ.
Gone.
She's dead, dog. It doesn't matter what she was. Little boy, little girl, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Gone.
Not even to mention, when he was used to be scared of dark spaces of the box, right, of this car. Now he's
Yeah.
just like, my anger outweighs my fear. for
Oh, yeah.
for these chaos
My man,
marines.
dude, they're built tough, bro.
Dude, they really
They're built
are.
different.
Like, if imagine an OGRYN, because like they said, like just very rarely an OGRYN has clarity, right, in their mind. Imagine if an OGRYN is born that just thinks like a normal human.
Christ.
That
Yeah.
He'll be unstoppable.
that's a war machine right there.
Totally, dude.
Holy.
Dude, they're the general, bro. They're the boss.
Yeah, like, cause not to mention like OGRYNs could take out space marines, right? They
can.
can. So
They can. They did it. Yeah.
and they're dumb, they're oops,
their
and
head off.
they're slow, right?
yeah.
This is, dude. I can't wait to see the journey of Gav, remembering
Me too.
Bob and Tala
and Harry.
and Harry.
Who's gonna be next?
Harry unlucky. Who should have? No, who should have been next on this grand adventure of?
There's a
Yeah,
list. There's a list.
My boys, Bob Gav is standing strong, dude.
Dude, he
Yeah.
really
Okay.
is, man.
We absolutely adore him, and in the next part, we'll see the rest of his story. Okay.
Yeah, true.
Anyway, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know if there's anything else you want us to check out. Warhammer, SCP, anything else. And also make sure you check out
Vox in the Void.
Vox
In the Void.
The Void.
In the Void.
Okay?
Yes.
Because he gave us this amazing series, Gavin Bob. Anyway, we have been Cranky Films. Remember, stay cranky. For the Emperor.
Yes. For some potatoes.